Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dee again, and welcome to the Interstate with Dee. Today is Saturday, December 7th, 2024. Welcome back to our trip on the Interstate. What we do here is present news from the state level that will end up having national importance later, or news that made it into the national news cycle but was overshadowed. Then we go over some questions from y'all. On this date, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, Pearl Harbor was attacked, firmly drawing the United States into World War II. There's also another major U.S. historical event that tends to get overlooked because of the events in Hawaii. Today in 1787, delegates meeting in a tavern in Delaware ratified the U.S. Constitution. It made Delaware the first state to do so. Okay, and on to the news. Alaska's U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski is facing pressure from healthcare groups to reject the nomination of RFK Jr. Arizona Republicans lost their suit to remove more than 1 million voters from the rolls. A federal judge tossed the case, saying the plaintiffs didn't have standing. California had an earthquake occur off its coast, briefly triggering a tsunami warning that led to evacuations. In Georgia, Trump is asking to have his case dismissed, citing presidential immunity. Guam was the scene of some international posturing when Taiwan's president made a stop and called U.S. congressional leaders. China is not happy. In Louisiana, the famed Marpaw Swamp is being reconnected to the Mississippi River through a conservation project costing more than $300 million. The swamp was deprived of nutrients when levees were constructed that cut it off from the river. Now, a system will be constructed that allows for a controlled inflow of water to feed the swamp. Michigan Democrats are in a rush to pass legislation to protect reproductive health data before Republicans gain the majority in the House. Enough Montana Republicans crossed party lines to vote down bathroom restrictions for trans lawmakers in the state capitol. New Mexico will soon offer electronic driver's license. They will be attached to Apple or Google Wallet, so the licensor ID will be on the person's smartphone. New York has canceled the New Year's Eve fireworks over Central Park because of the ongoing drought. A small town in North Carolina is suing Duke Energy. The town of Carrboro alleges Duke knew about how bad coal and gas were for the environment for 50 years and deceived the public. In Puerto Rico, the EPA fined a construction company $80,000 for allegedly polluting a river there in violation of the Clean Water Act. In South Carolina, the mayor of Darlington was at a city council meeting when a man said he shouldn't be mayor because he doesn't live in the city limits. The mayor told the man, quote, "You're welcome to leave with me tonight, and if you want, you can sleep in my bed." The man replied by saying, "I'm not gay," and then continued and used a slur. The mayor responded by saying he wasn't gay either, also using the slur. The mayor has since said he didn't mean to offend anyone by repeating the term back to the man and apologizes if he did offend anyone. In Texas, surveys suggest that the state's shortage of OBGYN doctors will increase sharply over the next 5 years, in large part due to the restrictive bans passed over the fall of Roe. In Wisconsin, public workers and teachers unions were handed a major victory when a judge struck down a 2011 law that took away collective bargain rights from many public sector workers. There are likely to be more court battles ahead on this one. And here's your weird state fact for this week. Billboards are banned in Hawaii. The law has been on the books since before Hawaii was a state. But even after it was amended in 1959, nobody seems to want to change the law. Can you blame them? Okay, so moving on to the question and answer portion of the show. Question number 1. D. Did some ruling in Vermont say that schools could vaccinate children against their parents' wishes? My weird neighbor won't shut up about it. No. Basically, the ruling everybody that spawned this particular piece of bad info centers on immunity, not permission to vaccinate children. The state Supreme Court ruled that everyone covered by the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act is immune to state lawsuits. The plaintiffs are taking the case to the U.S. Supreme Court, so this one isn't over. But the part that is, did not give authorization for schools to override parents. It was more of a procedural thing. Question number 2. I'm sorry for sending this to you. It might be outside what you cover, but I know Belle gets hundreds of questions per week and thought you might know the answer. Why do all of these articles have the exact same headline on different outlets? If there's one thing I've learned from watching these channels, is that most times something that seems conspiratorial has a really simple explanation. There are 2 ways this can happen. The first is that sometimes there's only so many ways to write a headline, but that's the least frequent option. Normally when this happens, if you open up the article, you'll see the article is exactly the same as well. All of the articles in your screenshot are written by the same 2 writers from the Associated Press. The AP has deals with lots of outlets and lets them republish their articles. It's a very, very common practice, but it tends to only get noticed when a big event happens and the search results show the same headline over and over again. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a licensing agreement. Question number 3. D. I have a weird suggestion for the channel. Your segments and Dana's segments don't get the views they should. Have you ever thought of combining them with the roads not taken? Just move from Belle's segment to Dana's to yours? I think it's the days, and people wanting their weekly recap on Sundays. Just a thought. We haven't thought about it, but we're open to it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, that looks like it. We'll see you next week for another trip. Y'all have a good day.